Leo stood there, the leather of the wallet cool and heavy in his hand. Immediately, a knot of suspicion tightened in his gut. This wasn't the first lost wallet he'd ever found, but this one was different. It was thick with cash, stuffed with expensive-looking credit cards. It felt less like a lost item and more like a trap. You see, Leo was a delivery driver. He spent 10 hours a day dodging city traffic and unpredictable weather. A man whose rent was already 2 weeks late. And this thick leather wallet, it felt like a dare. It felt like a decision he was being forced to make. He glanced down at the address label on his next package, a worn-out office building downtown. The kind where the elevator always smelled like dust and old, faded ambition. He couldn't shake the image of his landlord's face from his mind, that cold, flat look of disappointment. The shame that came with it was a heavy cloak. So I have to ask you, what would you do right now in his shoes? Let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Now, let's dive into what happened next. The name on the driver's license was Sheldon. The photograph showed a man older than Leo, with sharp, tired eyes and a face that looked like it had seen its share of corners in life. Sheldon lived clear across town, miles and miles from Leo's delivery route. This meant the wallet had to have been lost somewhere generic, maybe a diner, a gas station, or the loading dock Leo had just pulled away from. Leo slipped the wallet into his vest pocket. The weight of it was a dull, constant throb against his ribs, a physical reminder of the choice he was facing. He'd already peeked inside. The money was real. $400 and crisp $20 bills stacked neatly. More than enough to buy him 2 weeks apiece, 2 weeks without that crushing weight of overdue rent. His old man's voice echoed in his head. The world is full of tests, he used to say. And you don't always know when you're taking one. This felt like one of those tests, a big one. He finished his delivery at the old office building, his mind a battlefield. Every step he took, the wallet seemed to get heavier. He dropped off the package, got the signature, and walked back to his van, the city noise fading into a dull hum. The $400 was a siren's call, promising a brief escape from his problems. It promised a conversation with his landlord that didn't end in eviction notices. It promised a full fridge. But then there was Sheldon. A man with tired eyes, a man who had likely worked hard for that money. Was Leo's temporary peace worth Sheldon's potential panic and hardship? It was just money, some would say. Finders keepers, but it felt like more than that. It felt like a measure of his character. Back in his van, he pulled out the wallet again. He stared at Sheldon's photo. This wasn't just a wallet. It was a piece of someone's life. Their identity, their security. He imagined Sheldon frantically patting his pockets, the slow dawning horror of realizing his wallet was gone. Leo had felt that panic before, over losing a $20 bill. This was 20 times worse. He started the van, the engine rumbling to life. He had a schedule to keep, more packages to deliver. But his route suddenly felt wrong. Every turn he was supposed to make felt like a step in the wrong direction. The GPS was telling him to go right, but his conscience was screaming at him to go left, to head across town. He pulled over, the van idling by the curb. He took a deep breath. The decision was made. It wasn't even a conscious choice, really. It was a gut feeling, a deep-seated knowing that he couldn't live with himself if he did anything else. He wasn't the kind of person to build his relief on someone else's misfortune. Not today. He typed Sheldon's address into his phone's map. It was a 20-minute drive without traffic, but in the middle of the day, it would be closer to 40. That was 40 minutes off his route. 40 minutes he'd have to make up for later. Meaning a longer day and less time to rest, it was a sacrifice. But compared to the weight on his conscience, it felt like a small price to pay. Driving across town, Leo felt a strange sense of calm settle over him. The temptation hadn't vanished. The thought of the money still flickered in his mind, but it was weaker now, overshadowed by the rightness of his new direction. He was still broke. His rent was still late. But he felt lighter. He was driving toward a problem he could solve instead of running away from his own. He found the address, a modest house in a quiet, tree-lined neighborhood. It was a world away from his own cramped apartment building. He walked up the path and rang the doorbell, the wallet now feeling warm in his hand. A woman answered the door, her face etched with worry. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice tense. "Hi," Leo said, holding up the wallet. "I think your husband might have lost this. Sheldon?" The woman's eyes widened, first in surprise, then in immense relief. A wave of emotion washed over her face. "Oh my gosh," she breathed. "You found it." Sheldon has been turning the house upside down. He was so upset. Please, come in. She led him into a cozy living room where a man, Sheldon, the man from the photo, was pacing back and forth, phone to his ear. He looked even more tired and stressed in person. He hung up when he saw Leo. You found it? Sheldon asked, his voice hoarse. I can't believe it. I thought it was gone for good. I'm a delivery driver, Leo explained. I think you might have dropped it near the industrial park this morning. Sheldon ran a hand over his face, the tension visibly draining from his shoulders. I was a mess. Had to cancel all my cards, was worried about everything. Thank you. Truly, thank you. He opened the wallet and checked the contents. His eyes flickered over the cash, then back up to Leo. It's all here, he said, a note of wonder in his voice. He looked at Leo, really looked at him, and saw the worn-out uniform, the tired lines around his own eyes. Sheldon wasn't a rich man, Leo realized, just an ordinary guy who'd had a very bad day. Listen, Sheldon said, pulling out the cash. I want you to have this. All of it. As a reward. For your honesty, he tried to press the $400 into Leo's hand. Leo instinctively pulled back. No, sir, I can't take that. I just wanted to do the right thing. I insist, Sheldon said firmly. Finding the wallet is one thing. But finding it with everything still inside? That's rare. People like you are rare. Please take it. You've saved me more trouble than this is worth. Leo hesitated. The money was being offered to him freely now. It wasn't stolen, it wasn't a guilty secret, it was a gift. A reward for passing a test he didn't know he was taking. He looked at Sheldon, then at his wife, who was smiling at him with tears in her eyes. Slowly, he reached out and took the money. Thank you, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Thank you. This helps more than you know. Walking back to his van, the $400 felt completely different in his pocket. It wasn't a heavy weight of guilt anymore. It was light. It felt like hope. It felt like a confirmation that sometimes when you do the right thing, the world has a way of doing the right thing back. He still had a long day of deliveries ahead of him, but his steps were lighter. The city didn't seem so hostile, the traffic not so daunting. His rent was no longer an insurmountable mountain. It was just a bill he could now pay. That day, Leo learned that integrity has its own currency. It might not always come in the form of crisp $20 bills, but it pays dividends in peace of mind and self-respect and in the quiet. Knowledge that you chose to be the person your old man would be proud of. So, what do you think of Leo's story? It's a powerful reminder of the choices we face every day, big and small. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more content that makes you think and feel. I'll see you in the next one.